Hello, happy Critters Day. This is Stephanie from Couture, Costumes, and Cats. How are you doing today? I'm so excited to be talking about critters today. Yay! If you've been a fan of my channel, you know that this isn't the first time that I talk about critters, and I talk about it a lot, but it's because it's so awesome. So today I just want to talk about how this little movie became a franchise and is turning 40 today. And I want to talk about the costumes and props and my favorite parts of the movies, of course. So I hope that you have seen at least the first movie. But if you're not a fan, if you don't know the movie at all, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about it now. So, Critters came out on April 11th, 1986, 40 years ago. And it was a little bit of a Gremlins movie clone. If you know the movie Gremlins, you know that there's little, creatures running amok the small town. It has the same kind of vibe, except Critters takes it a step further. Not only do we have the, quaint, unassuming family that lives on a farm, the Brown family. We have Jay and Helen and their two children on a, beautiful farm in Kansas. Bright, summer day. We also have a scene in space where we see those bounty hunters, which are actually like alien shapeshifters dressed like this, go after what we call the Krites because they escape prison. So they're, called to action to go get the Krites back. So what are the Krites? They're these little aliens. They are a little furball, essentially. They're kind of cute, at first, but they run amok and eat, meat, anything that they can find, and they just eat and eat and eat nonstop. And they're extremely vicious. They have these like rows of teeth, super cute but vicious. So this movie kind of follows the same, setup as a 80s slasher movie, kind of like Friday the 13th. We have the Brown family on the farm. They basically get cut off from the world. The Krites, cut the phone line and they basically trap them inside and incapacitate both the parents at some point. So the two kids that are probably 12 and 16, we have Brad and Au- Audrey, Amber. Brad and his sister basically have to take over and find a way to save the family. So we see the town, that little town of Grover's Bend, and there's all these little like set pieces that we see at the church and the bowling alley. So it's like super cute, super 80s, and there's all these like beautiful sets, and it's really fun because even though the family is sort of like cut off and trapped on the farm, we also see what happens in the town because the bounty hunters land on Earth and they're searching for the Krites. So they're basically just going to go from like place to place. And the fun thing about that is that the first bounty hunter, when they, sort of learn about Earth, they watch this music video from Johnny Steele, and the bounty hunter Ugg immediately, falls in love with that face and that body. So he decides to shapeshift like him. So it's kind of funny because the bounty hunter looks like a famous singer. So everybody in town is like, Johnny Steele, what are you doing here? We have the first bounty hunter. The other one can't quite decide like what he wants to be, so he shapeshifts into multiple characters from the town, a cop, the priest, so throughout the movie we actually see the bounty hunter as different characters from the town, so it's a lot of fun. um Yeah, typical, 80s sort of like monster movie. But what I like a lot about this film is that the stakes are pretty high, even though there's these kids that need to sort of like take over and save the town. There's a real threat out there. Like Audrey brings home, a guy, for dinner, and he, spoiler alert, ends up, being, eaten by one of the Krites when they are fooling around in the barn. So, immediately, it doesn't take very long, from the Krites to go from like eating, cows to murder. So, raises the stakes pretty high. And one of the police officers gets incapacitated as well. So, it's the stakes are really high, and there's not a lot, that this family can count on until the bounty hunters show up. It's a lot of fun. There's like this cute little tension where, because the Krites are like like a black fur with a dark skin and just sort of like, rolling around, walking around. They're very hard to see. So we keep sort of like maybe seeing them, maybe not. They have these like red eyes. There are all these scenes where you kind of see like little red eyes in the window. And when the father goes down to the storm cellar, I think it's to check on the electricity. I can't remember. They go in, they grab a flashlight, goes down, and you literally just see one of the Christs just like sitting still on one of the shelves. But you really have to like look out for it because it's kind of blending in the background. But that's why it's a lot of fun because it's like what's going to happen, is it there, and then once they attack, whew, they are vicious. So that's a lot of fun. And the sequel is also a lot of fun. It's it is a little bit different, but it actually is centered around Easter weekend. So I just watched it not that long ago. It was Easter last weekend. So you know, same sort of like small town feel. We have the crates. They are made a little bit differently, still by the Kyoto brothers, who are amazing. They make such amazing props and masks and prosthetics and all these things and that are in my opinion like way better than any CGI. The fact that all these things are made, practical and fully articulated, and these mouths, and you know what I like about this is that they, even with their limitations, they find a way to make it still epic. The fun thing about the Krites is that they actually like roll around. When they move around, they just roll, right? So it makes it easier to mobilize them, because it basically just like throw this like basketball covered in fur into the scene, and they just like roll around, and then they spring up into this puppet that's like articulated. So it's a lot of fun to watch, and they're very, very well made. All the close-ups, even like the wide shots of like the little Krites moving around are very beautiful. And the close-ups, there's so many like details, wrinkles, and all those teeth. As I said, there's rows and rows of these like very sharp teeth. That is just simply amazing. And one of the fun things is that the Krites actually increase in size through the film. They don't just stay the same size. The more they eat, the more they grow. So you get sort of like a different look from that creature. This is actually a prop I made. This is from the sort of like the movie poster of the first Critters movie. There's Helen and Jay Brown dressed, in their their costumes, and you only see the sort of this like huge cried hand on Helen's shoulder, which is what I've recreated with this costume. I made this for Frightmare in the Falls a couple years ago, and this this prop is actually stuck on with Velcro, so it's removable, so I can wash the dress, and it's made out of tinfoil and masking tape and glue and paint. And the claws, I made them separately in tinfoil, and which is really cool because they were able to be like super, super sharp and super thin. And they are really holding their position, but they're also not like super hard on my on my body. So that's actually like a really good thing. And I put toothpicks in to be able to like attach them. So that is why I'm dressed this way right now. Um, so yeah, so these movies are just so much fun. Um, I have some questions there actually. What is your favorite outfit in the movies? In the first movie? Oh, wow. Obviously, I mean, I love Helen's costume. It's so typically 80s. The fun thing about her dress for like the most of the movie is that even though it's very like, 80s housewife style dress, very like feminine, and it has this long skirt, but the skirt has slits on either side for mobility, I can only assume. And it was actually really smart because even though the dress is, long, it's not cumbersome at all because of those slits. You're able to run and kick and fight. So it was very like interesting. That part of the costume is very important. I also added pockets to my iteration of this costume because pockets are extremely useful. So even though I made this costume and I'm wearing it right now, I think that I prefer Jay's costume. He's actually wearing a bowling shirt throughout, most of the film because it's bowling night, but he never makes it, of course, because of the Krites. So I actually made it for my husband. I have it here, and I really love these colors. I love bowling shirts. I think that they are super vintage, and it was a lot of fun to make it. And I also made this emblem. They are the pin busters. It's a little play on the Ghostbusters. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is amazing. So I really, really like Jay's outfit. It's very very 80s dad, and it has this like um sort of like 60s or back in the 80s style kind of thing of this bowling shirt. And I made this in a lovely chambray, two colors. This is sort of like a turquoise blue, and then the pink accents the collar and the cuffs. I really love chambray. It has a very, very nice feel on the skin, but it wrinkles a lot. So for a shirt like this, it's very hard to keep it pristine, but such a luxurious sort of feel on the skin. So absolutely recommend chambray to if you want to make especially tops or dresses. It's a beautiful feel, but get your iron out. This dress I made, it's pretty accurate to Dee Wallace's dress. I also made the matching belt here. Um, and you can see the big collar, iconic from that outfit, and the buttons. The belt is made out of the same fabric as the contrast collars and cuffs from the bowling shirt. Um, I just had a little extra, so I used it to make the belt. This is a quilting cotton. It was actually pretty hard to find a fabric that matched, Helen's dress because it's very, very sort of 80s, but also it kind of even looks old for the time. It looks like a dress from the 60s, actually, maybe. So that fabric was like, oof, kind of difficult to find, but I just stumbled upon this, which was close enough in my opinion. It's definitely brighter. Her dress is more has more subdued colors, but this was just it was too perfect to not get. Ooh. I found this in a quilting store. Actually, this is a quilting cotton, And I just bought as much as I could because I knew that I would need a lot for these, sort of longer puff sleeves and the collar and the long skirt, as I said, and the pockets. So I needed at least, 3 meters of fabric, especially since quilting cotton is a little bit more narrow than some other fabrics. So I was really happy to find this fabric and create this dress out of it. This is a bodice that I've done before, and I didn't actually make the dress like a button down bodice because I already had to fiddle around quite a bit for the collar. So ended up using a bodice that I've used before so that I knew that the fit would be right and I wouldn't have to fiddle around with that part. And yeah, I took a couple of tries with the collar. It's not exactly the same, but I think it's like pretty cute and looks really 80s. This dress, like late 80s. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. Um, I mean, obviously, I like the bounty hunter costume quite a bit as well. This is the bounty hunter costume from the first movie that I recreated. It is it is quite heavy to wear. Like as you can see, all of these are studs. So all these studs add like a lot of weight to that faux leather, sort of like cape shawl almost that I made, and the harness uh, as well has a lot of studs, so it's a lot of weight. I definitely love wearing it, but I don't think I could wear it for like an entire con. I think that it would be quite tedious to to wear that, and just having the sort of like harness get those spikes get in the way, and yeah. I also had made the prop gun that the bounty hunters use, but it fell apart a little bit. So that's on my list to remake. I'm going to try to remake a bounty hunter gun for the future. It was a little bit difficult it's to recreate this costume actually because it's you see the bounty hunters a lot, but you don't see them for very long. It's very like quick shots and quick action shots. So it's hard to see the details. But I definitely watched the movie a bunch of times to be able to sort of like learn, the details of this costume and how it looked. And I'm sure that it's not exactly the same, but for me it was so much fun, and it was such an accomplishment because I spent, I think, almost 3 months on all those pieces. The harness, the bomber jacket, the cape. I made the pants too, the gun, and I had made like a little crate prop for my husband, who was dressed as Steve, the victim from the beginning. So quite a bit of pieces for Halloween that year, but so worth it. Um, I think that if I made another bounty hunter costume, I would remake the same one. I would remake the bounty hunters from the first movie. I think they have the best costume. They look completely different in the second movie and the other movies, probably for practical reasons. I'm sure that those things were extremely heavy and warm, so maybe that's why. I'm not sure why they look different, but they're definitely a lot different. They're not even the same color. They're more of like a brown color. I would remake the costume from the first movie, but I would make it more wearable. To be honest, I think that's where this thing is a little bit cumbersome. It's just it's too warm. This like quilted piece here for the fabric is just like almost like wearing a quilt or insulation. So I would make it lighter, and I would find a way to make the harness sort of just more comfortable. Because right now, it's made out of repurposed belts, and add the paint on top of that. It's actually very heavy. So it's yeah, live and learn. But yeah, this was so much fun to make, and I love this little cape, and it has a back as well. some spikes on the shoulders. So, I would definitely keep this cape piece and wear it again. Um, yeah, maybe find a way to like attach it to the jacket so that it moves around a little bit less. Oh, another question. If they rebooted Critters with bounty hunters again, what elements from the costume would you keep? Oh my gosh. I really like the gun, like, really like it. I like the fact that the extendable cannon, I don't like guns at all, but I love that it has lights on it, the weight of it, the extendable cannon, all of that is just, like, super cool. Um, I like I like everything about that costume. I think that they could definitely make it more modern and less, like, floppy, you know? This is pretty floppy, but it has to have the studs. I think that this costume just makes it, alien, you know? I know that there's tons of studs in, Earth fashion and in human fashion, especially, like, more of like a punker or like a biker wear. But I feel like that many studs makes it look like a battle uniform, but not from Earth. It makes it very like space like. So that is something that I would definitely keep for bounty hunters. I think that it is a must have. I mean, what else? I really like the design of the Krites themselves. Like I said, even the Krite eggs are like super cute and weird looking. We see them a lot in the second movie because it's like centered around Easter, and that's sort of like how the Krites come back. Like people find eggs and they're like, "Oh, hey, eggs for Easter! Like we'll decorate them. We'll use them for our egg hunts. Easter Easter egg hunts. Ouch." And then, they get like warmed up and they hatch, and then we have kites again. So that's definitely like a really cool design. And as I said, the Kyoto brothers really do like a good job with those crates and how they sort of morph, how they explode. Some of them get like scalped by a shotgun. In the second movie, they they come together and create this like giant crate ball that rolls around. That's ridiculous but awesome. In the first movie, you have like the giant crate, which is where like this hand from the movie poster like comes from, this like giant gorilla sized crate, who just like we don't really see him that much, but it's just like whoa, we see these huge arms come in. And so they are really good at like making crates come to life and make you believe how threatening they are, and their use of space, and the fact that they are the correct size and that they grow and that they work in their environment just makes it just so amazing and more believable. um, I'm just looking at my notes. There's something that I wanted to say I didn't want to forget. So yes, to honor the Kyoto brothers again, I feel like their props and their products are so recognizable. I also love the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space. If you haven't seen it, just go see it. It's amazing. Um, I really want to make a some type of costume, or like inspired from that movie at some point, because it's just so fun, and they have such cute props as well. Everything in that movie is like typically clown, like even their weapons are. It's just so cute. But the characters, like the clowns that are made with these giant heads and hands, and they're just so big and threatening, and but like also like cute and colorful. They're so iconic to the Kyoto brothers that I remember a few years ago I was watching the Ernest, like, Halloween movie, Ernest Scared Stupid, I think, and there are some, like, weird puppets that show up in this movie, and I was like, "This puppet looks like Shorty." Like, Shorty is one of the clowns from the Killer Clowns movie, and sure enough, the Kyoto brothers were credited, in the end movie credits. So, you know, so recognizable and so iconic. They must have had used the same mold to make this puppet. So yeah, I really love the first movie. The second one as well is really enjoyable. The third one has a young Leonardo DiCaprio, by the way, just putting that out there. It's very, very cute. It's they all have something quaint about them. I like that we keep going back to a small setting, which makes those movies like fun because they have like just a few characters, but that are like very fun. Like the first two are in Grover's Bend, and so you have the caricature of the town folks. You have like the town drunk, and you have the sheriff, and you have like the housewife, and you have like the people who go to church, and you have the elderly woman who plays the piano at the church, and etc. It's like very, very quaint. And then the third movie is like it takes place in this sort of like apartment building. It's very, very like very tied to this one apartment building. And, so again, stakes are high. How do we leave? We're under attack by those Krites. And you have like very specific characters, the elderly couple who lives upstairs, and, that like single woman who's on the prowl, and you have the single dad with the kids. And so, it's a lot of fun. And so you have these little set pieces where you just like throw in these like man-eating creatures that are like little fuzzballs who go nuts, and just like talk to each other in this like hushed sort of like alien language, like and they laugh and they make those like weird sounds. And it's so much fun. So go watch Critters, please, and celebrate Critters Day with me every year from now on. But honestly, like it's a really good time, and it has like those iconic costumes, from the 80s, and these lovable characters, and just a really, really fun time. And amazing props, and even the music is a lot of fun. So, go watch Critters, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.